Oh, there we go. How are we all doing tonight, everyone? Hopefully you guys are doing good. Going to talk about the Cano stuff a little bit. Going to do a quick recap of this series. As you guys can tell, my camera is pretty low quality. I'm still recording on my phone, so it's going to be like that for a little bit. But Isaac, I'll let you start, man. How do you feel about this Robinson Cano signing?
I mean, that's my reaction. Really, it's just I think it's funny. Um, I just don't understand the value he brings to the team at this point. We kind of have a decent amount of infielders. I understand maybe you want a depth piece, but really, he's not really a depth piece. I mean, you sent down your death piece. I feel like, you got to wonder, was the Robinson Cano signing, was that why we sent down CJ Abrams? And you can make the argument, yeah, he provides better value than CJ Abrams does. I don't believe so. I think CJ provides more value with his speed, his defense, and I think his bat was going to come around. But I mean, Steve Robinson just said it best. He's washed. He's done. Um, Had a good 2020, 2021, didn't play, and then this year he wasn't doing very well. So, I mean, I understand giving the guy a chance, especially because the Mets are going to pay. Realistically, he's going to be on the vet minimum, whatever it is, the minimum that we're going to pay him. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but I don't know. I feel like if you send down Abrams to sign Cano, you're kind of doing a disservice to your top prospect. And he needed time down in AAA, but I honestly thought he was going to be up for a little longer before that happened. But rumor is that he's going to have some DH days, might get some time on the field. So I don't know, man. I'm very torn. Only reason I'm torn is because I know he's Tatis's boy, and I know that they basically grew up very close to each other. Not grew up, but obviously Cano's older, but they live close to each other, so I know they're boys, and that's the only reason I'm like, well, I guess team chemistry it does make sense, but yeah, I don't know.
At the same time, though, man, he only is really going to provide power. Like, he's not going to hit for average. He's just going to provide for power. He can really only play second base now. He's too old to play short. Haas is at first. Cronenworth's at second. So outside of DH, what is he really going to do? Oh, we need another leadership presence because outside of this year, that was so great with Hosmer the last 4 years. The sign just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I'd much rather have CJ Abrams up and give him the at bats that are going to Cano. I know this whole AAA going back down, it's definitely going to give him like a confidence boost. I mean, we kind of saw it yesterday. He pimped the hell out of those 2 home runs, but I much rather those the bats to Abrams. I mean, like you said, in every other category outside of power, Abrams is better than Cano as of right now. So outside of just like a clubhouse presence that's never gonna start, it's just kind of wasting a roster spot on Cano. So I don't get it. I don't like the signing. Uh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of echo Chase a little bit here. Now, I'll say that the first thing off, it's not really about Robinson Cano. I don't hate the idea of bringing him in. I really don't. Like Isaac, you brought up that he's friends with Fernando. Okay, he's a leadership presence. He can hit for a little power. He's not that good. I think we can tell that. So it's not really about him. But I hate the idea of signing him because you can call up young players. And I think this goes even a little bit back. And I think we got to do some type of episode on this because the Padres have struggled to develop players so much. And we've came back to it time and time again. It's because they do not get consistent playing time. And they are not giving CJ Abrams consistent playing time. And forget the Robinson Cano stuff first. He's not getting outfield reps over Matt Beatty. He's struggling, but over the last couple weeks, he was actually coming around. He was almost hitting 300 over the last couple weeks in the bigs, and that's with playing inconsistently. I would rather have him playing than a Robinson Cano, a Matt Beatty, or one of these other guys that does not have a future with the team. CJ Abrams playing worse, getting time and development under his belt, making adjustments at the big league level. That there is definitely an argument for him too, is that he hasn't played much in AAA, and I think that's fair. But then we can go and say the same exact thing about Luis Campusano, and apparently Cano's going to be DHing some. when Voit was hurt, Campy should have just stepped right into the DH role and just started DHing a bunch. So it's not really about the Cano thing for me, why I don't like it, but it's about just the lack to develop players, I would say. So that's my frustration with it. I don't know if you, I mean, I'm sure you guys probably feel a similar way. But I don't know. Do you like, is that your problem with it a little bit, Isaac, or is it? I don't know. I just don't like the idea of bringing a 39-year-old when you have multiple guys that can get called up. You have Esteury Ruiz, who's been balling out in Double A, and a Double A to MLB jump isn't like super crazy. Like that happens a decent amount just because like the jump from Double A to Triple A isn't as big. Probably one of the smaller jumps. So I don't know. I think that I would just rather see them not have Robinson Cano, Matt Beatty out there, and instead be giving at bats to young guys to try to develop them. So that's my like big issue with it.
Yeah, I think if you're trying to fill the role that they were talking about, Luis Camposano is a perfect fit for it, considering he's done enough in AAA to warrant being called up now. I think he's done too much in AAA to still be down there. And CJ needed more time in the minors. I just thought it was too early to send him down to the minors. I think when Fernando comes back, then yeah, you can send him down. It's only like a month, a little over a month away. I mean, obviously he wasn't playing every game already, which sucks. And I understand he needs his at bats down there. He needs more time, and it's okay to send him down there. I just thought maybe it was a little too early. But I mean, everyone was saying that I'd rather have Cano right now than Beatty or who was the other one? I think someone said Azokar. I don't know, but I don't know. I think it's just a wait and see kind of game. He is on a vet minimum, so it's not like it's whatever. It's like low risk, might be low reward, probably going to be low reward. So I don't know. I think right now he's just a depth piece. I think he's going to get cut again. I mean, that's what I fully expect, but just going to have to wait and see. I'm sure he's not going to get as many at bats as people think. So we might not have to get mad at Robinson Cano that often. I'm not even mad at Cano in general. I'm not mad at anyone. It's like, it's whatever. He's going to be just a bench piece, a lefty bat that comes off the bench and fills the role. I mean, we needed one of those, so it works. It's not the guy you want to fill that role, but it works, I guess.
That was a very optimistic it works. I think I got to say that. So I got you guys this question. I think it was Matt who retweeted this, and it was Grisham's stats since July of last season.
Bad, horrible.
He's had 427 plate appearances, a 197 average, a 290 on base percentage, a 71 WRC plus, and a 0.11 ISO. For those who don't know, ISO is about your power numbers, and that is extremely low. That is like extremely below average. And we've been saying, you have to get him reps, you have to, let him just kind of work out his slump. But in his last 400 plate appearances, he's batting under 200. That's a pretty significant sample size. That's like a whole season, basically, outside of 10 games. So where are you guys at with him on? Okay, we need to find a new center fielder, or do we just write him out at this point?
So I think that you're going to see the Padres' patience kind of start wearing thin soon. My thought is, I think a lot of these guys, you look at it, for Luke Voit, it felt like he was over swinging, but like I couldn't really tell you like what was wrong. I can tell you what's wrong with Trent Grisham. He can't hit fastballs that come down the middle of the plate. He cannot hit fastballs. And he'll just strike out on a fastball down the middle looking way more than probably any other player I've ever watched. His whole game is predicated on getting on base, but he cannot hit mistake pitches. If I'm a pitcher, I'm going to go up against Trent Grisham, I'm going to try to put every single pitch in the zone. Because if you put pitches in the zone, he's not going to hit. I feel like this year, we haven't really, I'm thinking like a handful of times where he's really squared up a baseball and got like a big league like hit. Like he like smoked the ball. It's usually like bloopers, or he hits one off the end of the bat down the line because they play in a shift against them, or like something like that, or soft contact that barely drops in the outfield. He does not hit the ball hard. So, and it's been like that for what? You said that was like the last like 470 plate appearances? Feels like that. It's like since
127.
July, I think it was, right?
July.
Yeah. So I feel like I'm kind of getting impatient with him. I think that you have to continue to give him a little bit more reps just because he is a plus base runner. He is a plus on base guy. He walks a lot, right? He's a great fielder, but he cannot hit. And if you're deficient like that, it's hard to warrant a roster spot. And he's also a guy that people talk about, like, oh, could we go add like this guy and move him to center? If he's not in center, he doesn't have like any value right now because he's a great center fielder. So it's getting tough. Also, he was a guy that was talked about getting an extension. I feel like the Padres are probably very happy they did not give him that extension, or he didn't accept, or whatever it was, because that would look really bad right now. So it's tough though for Trent Grisham. I hope he turns it around though. I mean, that's a rough, almost basically 500 plate appearances. That's brutal.
Yeah, my patience is wearing thin for sure. And yeah, go ahead, Chase, real quick.
So just to talk about his defense real quick, I pulled up his Baseball Savant page because I don't think you guys realize what it really is.
No,
he's in the
not gonna-
37th percentile in outs above average, and he's in the 10th percentile in outfield jump. So he's having a pretty below average year in defense, too.
Yeah, he's definitely not. Sorry, I'm trying to look at some other stats. He's definitely not producing on defense the way I thought he would. Even yesterday, I was getting very frustrated. That ball at the wall, I thought it should have been caught. I really did think it should have been caught. And I mean, it bounced off the middle of the wall, maybe even the lower half of the wall. He misjudged it. I think there was another ball he misjudged. I know he misplayed one in the ninth. It's like, I was getting very frustrated with his defense yesterday. And I thought he's been an okay defender this year. I haven't seen anything special, but my patience is wearing thin, and I like Trent Grisham. Just no power. He doesn't have any power. He's not displaying any of the power that he showed in 2020 and the first half of 2021. It's nowhere to be found. So right now, when Tatis comes back, he's not a top of the order hitter. They keep putting him up there, but he's the ninth hitter. He's a ninth hitter. He's nothing better than your ninth hitter right now. Even when he does good, he should be your ninth hitter. But he hasn't been doing good. He's batting 100. He's batting horrendous right now. His approach at the plate is bad, and I think that it struggles at the player hitting out to him on the field. It's unfortunate because he was a very highly touted prospect, not even prospect, but player among us Padre fans, among the Padres organization. And where is it? You know, it's really unfortunate. I really think it's just all in his head right now, because I do think he's a much better player than this, but it hasn't showed for a couple months now. And we can really only hope that he comes around, because I mean, this Padres team is heavily predicated on some bounce backs. They're not going to add anyone right now. They don't have much depth in their farm system to get rid of. So they're heavily relying on Trent Grisham to come around, and a lot of the other guys that are struggling to come around. But I'm very pessimistic about Trent Grisham right now.
Yeah, and even when you look at this page, man, it's just a sea of blue. Average exit velo, hard hit, expected slugging, expecting batting average is all in the bottom 10 percentile. It's not looking good for him. And I know I've always been a big advocate for Ozokar to play center field, but I don't feel like that's going to be a great upgrade either. We saw Ozokar sort of give up a home run. It was kind of like Profar last year all over again. It was pretty bad. So at this point, it's like, who would you rather play center? Ozokar, who's a righty, Grisham, who's a lefty? Do you just play who hits better against a certain pitcher, who hits better against lefties and righties, and then just platoon them? But even then, that's not a platoon, because you still have Profar in left and Myers in right, and it's just not a good outfield. I mean, it's not a pretty outfield. It's probably the worst outfield when it comes to hitting wise. I mean, Myers made a great play defensively yesterday, but outside of, he also nearly hit one off the wall. Which, that's another thing. I was gonna ask you this: do you guys want juiced baseballs back? Because that's kind of ridiculous, dude. That was smoked.
Isaac, was it you that told me that someone said it was like hitting a pair of wet socks?
Wet socks.
That's what a player said?
Yeah.
Dude, it's bad, man. There's literally no life in the baseball. It's got it, dude. I don't know what Manfred was thinking. My initial thought with what they were trying to do was they're trying to add home runs. If that's what they were trying to do, this was a utter disaster, dude. Because there's no life. The balls don't travel. No, I'm fully in support of that. I don't know. What do you guys think? And then we'll get into this series recap. We haven't even started that yet.
What do I think of the whole baseball stuff? I think this doesn't. It's why can't you just have a normal baseball? This isn't a normal baseball. Like they've said, it's a much toned down version of a normal baseball. I don't want the juice baseball. I think a game. I like the kind of games that aren't heavily predicated or heavily reliant on the home runs. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I love offense. Everyone knows I love offense. But I don't know, man. Hitting a pair of Wet Sox does not sound fun, especially when some of these balls should be going out. The home run numbers and offensive numbers in general are down a lot this year, and I don't know why they did that. Because the most marketable thing in baseball is offense. Everybody likes offense. Everybody likes home runs and runs being scored. Nobody likes seeing those 2-1 ball games. Personally, I think those are boring. I think those are so boring. And don't get me wrong, I like seeing the occasional pitching matchup, but I like seeing offenses go head to head. I think that's the most fun aspect of baseball. I mean, also I wasn't a pitcher, so for any pitcher, I'm sure you guys love the art of pitching, and I do too. But seeing offenses go toe to toe and seeing guys like, for example, Fernando and Mookie and that Dodgers lineup going against some of these guys in the Padres lineup. Again, some of these guys in the Padres lineup. I think that's so fun. But I don't know, man. I want the regular baseball back because it's not off. Like I said, offense is the most marketable thing. Offensive players, and if you don't have them, if you don't have a lot of offense in your game, it's going to be boring. You're going to lose fans, young fans.
And it was funny. I think it was under either like MLB's Twitter page, or it was just a comment that was made. They said, if this was a primetime game, or this was like one of the on MLB TV, like the baseball, like the Friday Night Baseball, whatever it was, he said that ball would have gone out.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, everyone's theory is they change the balls up for any primetime game or any game that's going to be broadcasted across America without any blackouts, because they want the views, they want everything. We got caught doing last year, and I wouldn't be surprised if they continue doing it this year. But yeah, I mean, I felt like 2020 was a good balance to it. I mean, yes, you had the sticky stuff going on, but at the same time, the pitchers responded to the home runs. We've had many of the pitchers still have career years when the baseball's reduced, and now you are just taking the bat out of the hands, because there was many like Frank probably should have had that grand slam versus Taylor Rogers. It died at the wall. Like I thought that was a home run. Everyone thought the Myers ball was a home run. Like those realistically should be going out of the park and not dying at the wall. I know Steve mentioned it right here that Darvish has mentioned bringing the Japanese baseballs over to America. He did bring a couple over during one of the Reds series last year, and the Reds team loved it. The pitchers loved it. The hitters liked it. And you know what? I'm on board with it, because whatever the MLB is doing in baseballs, man, it's just killing the sport.
Yeah, and it's definitely frustrating. I feel like the MLB is, in terms of the big three sports leagues in the U.S., like the MLB is ran so bad. It sucks. It really sucks, because like I always feel like when I'm like just like the way that the sport's designed, like there's so many things that they could do that would just like make more sense. So let's see some juice baseballs. Doesn't even have to be that intense, but like let's not make the baseballs worse. That's like this most ridiculous. This is the most ridiculous rule change you could have made, honestly, for entertainment purposes, for what like the casual fans want to see. It doesn't make any sense. So that's where I'm on that with that too. But this Cubs series, so want to get into this real quickly, and then I see there was a bunch of trade talk going on, so we will definitely get into some of these guys in a second here. But let's go through this series recap real quick. So, looking at it from afar, you lose this series. You won the Marlins series 3-1. Tell me why I feel better coming out of this series than I felt the Marlins series.
Because we were putting up runs.
Exactly. Like that's
putting up
the
runs.
only takeaway for me is that you get
Yeah.
guys back and then you immediately put up runs. And I thought it was perfect that in the first inning where Myers and Voit came up, Myers like had that like ground out RBI, and then Voit ended up walking, and then like they scored another run right after that. And it was like just the fact that it was like MLB caliber hitters instead of some of the guys that had been getting rolled out, the week or two before. So I don't know. My takeaway was like you lost a series against a bad team. It happens. It's a long season, but at least there are runs on the board, and that was what was important to me.
Yeah, you're gonna lose to bad teams. The Dodgers lost to the Pirates. Did anyone expect the Brewers to lose to the Reds? No. So it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen a lot. I mean, I wasn't frustrated. It happens. You're gonna lose to these bad teams. The Cubs really aren't horrible. I think they're better than the Reds and the Pirates, but realistically, you should be winning. I mean, 9 times out of 10, you're winning a game. 8 times out of 10, whatever it is, you're winning a game where you're putting up 5 runs. That's why I'm not discouraged. Nick Martinez. We need to talk about Nick Martinez a little bit, considering we know that Blake Snell is going to be coming back. Nick Martinez doesn't have a role in the starting rotation, and I mean, he's done good. I'm not trying to knock him. He's done good. He didn't have a good outing yesterday, but being realistic, Trent Grisham, if he catches that ball, it looks a little better. And I mean, realistically though, Mackenzie Gore's been better. Blake Snell has a track record. Everybody in the rotation is ahead of him. So having Nick Martinez in the bullpen sounds amazing right now, considering the state of the bullpen. And I forgot who said it. Somebody was talking about Nick Martinez's changeup not being that good. I actually do think it is a pretty darn good changeup. But he needs to go to the bullpen, long reliever role. If not a long reliever role, you can get 1 to 2 innings out of him. I mean, Nabil Chris-Matt pitched 2 innings after him yesterday. I think you can get that out of both of them. But overall, the recap, the offense was finally putting up runs. They were putting up runs the way they didn't against the Marlins. And I expected that Marlins series to be low scoring. The Marlins have a top 5 pitching rotation right now, I want to say. So it's not like I was expecting that many runs to be put up that series, considering you still don't have Voit, you still don't have Myers, you still don't have offensive depth. You don't have I forgot the word I was trying to say, but I was literally talking about it earlier to myself. And so yeah, the lineup looked good, man. And I was very happy. I was very happy with it. I don't know. I still think it's going to be a very streaky lineup. But yeah, encouraging from the offense. And remember, we're not always going to lose games where we put up 5 runs. It'll be rare because of this rotation. Though the bullpen sucks.
Just had to throw that out there at the end, huh? Yeah, the bullpen does suck. Like you said, I think Nick Martinez definitely has to go back. You get a little bit of an upgrade with him going back there. He's just outside of like he can go maybe 2 solid 3 innings, and after that, he's getting rocked. That's what it seems like. Outside of maybe 1 start, you probably should have breezed through that Cubs lineup, and his changeup is pretty good. It's just that I felt like when he was going, he got guys 0-2 or 1-2, and he would throw the changeup. He wasn't throwing it out of the zone. He was sort of trying to throw it out of the zone and try to get people to swing over it, but it was always just leaking right at the bottom of the zone, and they just hit it out of the infield because, it sped up their bat and hit a line drive, either a hard ground ball that breezed through the infield or just went over the infielders' heads. And it doesn't look like his curveball is a really reliable 3-pitch. Earlier in the game, he was hanging it a lot. He was hanging most of his pitches like in the first inning and then settled down. But outside of that, he looks like what Paddock was last year. Like, okay, he has his fastball. He has his changeup. He has an inconsistent curveball. He doesn't have the velocity that Paddock does. He has more run on his fastball, but outside of maybe going through the lineup the first time, he's going to get rocked the second and third time. So throw him in the bullpen, bring Snell back. And if Snell is still not stretched out to go, 6-7 innings or go 100 pitches, just piggyback him, save the bullpen. And yeah, outside of that, the bats are finally alive. Shout out Luke Voit, 2 home runs. I was not expecting that. He's finally hitting the ball. Hopefully Myers starts to come around, then maybe this offense will be a little less inconsistent. But hey, we got to hope for the best in this upcoming series.
Dude, the full road trip too, because I see people talking about that in the comments. It's like the next, I would say I think it's until like I want to say like the end of July is pretty tough. But even this next road trip is really tough. Braves, Phillies, Giants. That's a hard road trip. And then I know a little. I think it's beginning of June is where there's like this long stretch of games where there's like a double header right away, and then there's like no off days for like 2 weeks basically. So there's also that up ahead. Yeah, this team's definitely going to get tested. I mean, their schedule is, I'm guessing, has been the easiest schedule in the league so far. I mean, you look at some of these teams. The Padres have already had 2 series against the Reds, a series against the Pirates. Like, all right, it's not too bad. I know the Diamondbacks are playing good, but I don't expect them to keep this up at all. But I don't know. You look at the schedule; it's tough. That's why you have such an elite starting staff. That's what's going to carry this team. You're going to need guys like Manny Machado to consistently play like how he has been. I mean, he is the MVP favorite right now. He is legitimately the MVP favorite, and that's been a huge piece of why the Padres have been able to win games. If you have some other guys come around from time to time, it's going to help. But I don't expect this offense to be that good. I expect them to continue to win low scoring games. And if you can put up 5 runs, any game you put up 5 runs, you should win with this team. So I think they're going to be fine. Bullpen wise, it's starting to look like you're really banking on guys coming back healthy. And when it comes to Nick Martinez, he should be moved to the bullpen. Gore should continue to start. You should rock with the 6-man rotation and keep Gore in there. And then move Nick Martinez to the pen when Snell comes. But right now they're using a 6-man rotation. Snell coming back should not end that. Snell coming back should just move Martinez to the pen and probably DFA Stammen. I know that people really like him on the team and stuff, and he seems like a great guy, but dude, like come on, there's no point in keeping him. Like you have Nabil. Nabil is already better. You're gonna have Nick Martinez in that role. You have 2 long relievers right there, and that's gonna be big because that's gonna save. Like, say a starter has a bad outing, we've seen how clutch Nabil is. I mean, we saw he was yesterday. Yesterday he comes in, he throws 3 scoreless innings. I think he only allowed 1 hit in 3 innings. He was fantastic. Like he's a really good pitcher. So you already have a good middle relief guy. You have another one of those guys, and you have a 6-man rotation. Okay, well then you have 8 guys that can throw a lot of innings for you, and that is super clutch when it comes to having such a long season. So that's kind of where I'm at on the team with that stuff. But I don't know. What do you think? You think they're gonna keep rocking with the 6-man rotation, Isaac?
I think they're gonna do it for a little bit, just because Bob Melvin doesn't really like it. I mean, every article I see about the rotation and the 6-man rotation in general just keeps talking about how Bob Melvin's not a fan of it. He doesn't really like it. A little more old school in that sense. But as long as these guys keep pitching good, he said he's forced to do it. I mean, he kind of has to. All of them were pitching good, except for, and I mean, like I said, Martinez is going to be the odd man out, which is, I don't want to say it's unfortunate because if you guys look at his expected ERA, it's a little high, but he hasn't been bad. He's been what a 5th starter is supposed to do. What a 5th starter, with low expectations is supposed to do. So he's been okay, but a bullpen role is going to be fine for him. Yeah, but with that 6-man rotation, at least for right now, and when that stretch of games comes that you're talking about, where they have to play double headers and all that, fully expect to see a 6-man rotation for sure. Fully expect it, just because, I mean, that's a long stretch of games that your starters have to throw in, and that's when Bob Melvin has said he's in favor of it. When there's that long stretch of games that it's 14 in a row, whatever it is. But when it comes back, when it starts slowing down, and when, I mean, Gore might have to go down to AAA, maybe to the bullpen, you will start seeing a 5-man rotation again, just because Bob Melvin likes it. And I'm not saying I'm opposed to the 6-man rotation. If you got 6 guys going out there and throwing some great innings, having some great outings, you have to do it. But I don't know. Just because of what I've seen about Bob Melvin, I'm pessimistic that the 6-man rotation will happen for an extended period of time.
So, mentioning this upcoming road trip, you were talking about how we were going to play a bunch of games back to back in June, Matt. I counted it out. We play 18 straight without a day off, and in that there's a couple doubleheaders, which is ridiculous. That's going to be a really long road trip. Hopefully the Padres come out at least a couple games above 500. That's going to be a really tough one. I really don't think they can send Gore down at this point. I mean, He kind of been one of the better pitchers. He's been better than Minaya as of right now. He's been the only one that he really hasn't bested is Joe Musgrove. Joe Musgrove has been just on another level compared to last year. He's kind of been the bona fide ace that the Padres were expecting. I think Mackenzie Gore just has to fight out whatever struggles he's gonna come into at the MLB level. I don't think sending him down to AAA does him any good. His stuff plays at the MLB level. He may not be getting the amount of strikeouts, but he's not walking people. He occasionally gets hits hard, but that's with any pitcher. You definitely got to let him work it out at the MLB level. You can't send him back down. I think that's doing a disservice to what he's done. You want to reward, like Bob Melvin always says, you want to reward players for playing good. And he has played good, and there's no reason you should send him down, especially when he's outperforming Nick Martinez right now. And outside of that, 3 lefties in the rotation is not a bad thing, especially if you put a righty in between them. That's perfect. And I see a lot of trade talks right now about Cronenworth. If Preller ends up trading Cronenworth and putting Cano at second, I think we boycott. Nobody buy tickets to the game to what Ace fans are doing. Just drive the sales down because there's no way in any reality that should be happening. That is horrible. Yeah, no, that can't happen.
Yeah, and we got to remember, Cronenworth is the only. Honestly, think about this. Tell me, I think there's one other guy that can fall in this category of good players who are cheap on the Padres. Everyone on the Padres that's good makes a lot of money, except Cronenworth and except Gore, because Mackenzie Gore is a rookie. There's not another good player on the team that doesn't make a lot of money. I guess you can say Rogers, because the Twins are paying his salary, but he makes like $7 or like $9 million or something normally. So I wouldn't really consider him there. But Cronenworth doesn't make a lot of money. He's under control for many years. You're not going to pay him a second contract. He's he's going to stay under until he's under control, and then he's probably going to walk after that, or you re-sign him to a small deal. But you're never going to have to break him off. He's always going to be cheap, and he's always going to provide you a ton of value. I get he's struggling right now. That would be another reason to not trade him when he's struggling either. So I'm a big no to trading Cronenworth. I think you would rather trade guys in the farm. I mean, I think if you're looking at who you can really count on in this lineup, and I'm not going to include Hosmer. I know so far this year he has been, but over his time in San Diego, he is not. So I'm not including him, but we can put an asterisk next to his name. It's Machado, Tatis, and Cronenworth, and that's it. And those are the only guys that have hit over that was last year. So I'm not super confident in the rest of the guys outside of Cronenworth and then those 2 guys. And hopefully Hosmer. I really hope Hosmer is the case. I mean, he's been amazing. He was great last series as well, but I don't know. Big no for trading Cronenworth. You agree, Isaac?
Yep. I mean, you know how hard that would be for me to see Cronenworth go? That's not you again, bro. Not you again. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to show that. All right. No, I don't want to trade Cron. When Tatis comes back, you'll see the Cron that we all know. And I know it sounds ridiculous. That you need another player in the lineup for you to be good, but Cronenworth's not capable of being your second best option in the lineup, or third, whatever it is right now. He's your 4th or 5th guy that when he gets the pitches he sees that he was seeing because of that lineup protection, he was a pretty good player. He still provides you a lot of value on defense. That's still the Cronenworth that I know. He's still hitting the ball. I mean, the average doesn't show, and it'll come around when the time comes. But just be patient. Be patient. There's down years. People have down years. People have down months. Sometimes it takes a little while to get out of a bad stretch. But I think give it some more time. He still has a lot of value. He's a cheap player. The Padres are so in hell when it comes to their money. So having a cheap player like Jake Cronenworth, who last year put up a 4 WAR, come on, that'd be pretty hard to trade, even if you got a really good outfielder. I think you have other pieces that you could trade. And I understand Ha-Seong Kim is there, and I understand CJ Abrams could take over second base. But as of right now, he's a cheap player. It's never bad to have too much talent. Though I will say He's not immune to trades. He could very well get traded because he's a good player that's cheap, has control, could net the Padres kind of a lot. Same with the starting pitcher. I don't think the starting pitcher's immune to trades either, as much as I want them to be. I don't want any of the starting pitchers to go. But, I mean, it's business, so we'll have to see. I don't think Cronenworth's getting traded. There's no way.
Yeah, no, I can't see Cronenworth getting traded, especially because, like Matt, he's like the only Padre that's doing good that's not getting paid. You can probably add Musgrove into that list too, because he's going to get his contract extension soon. But just trading Cronenworth doesn't really do you anything right now. We really don't know if Cano still has it. His last solid year that he had was 2020, but 2020 is sort of a fluke year. They had the juice baseballs and everything going down. The MLB was a mess. He was suspended last year. And his last full season was 2019. He played 107 games, hit 256, and 13 home runs. You're going to get similar production out of Cronenworth by the end of the year. Cronenworth is going to be fine. He's slumping right now, but he has shown that he's about to come out of it multiple times. He had just had a 3-hit game the other night with 2 doubles. He's going to be fine. I don't think trading Cronenworth helps you in the future at all. You are going to have to get rid of Hosmer within the next few years. You know what? That might be the scenario, but I don't know yet. But Hosmer is going to be walking probably in a few years. You can realistically put Cronenworth to replace Haas at first base. We've seen Cronenworth play really good first base. Then you have Abrams at second, Tatis at short, and Machado at third. That's probably the best infield that in the MLB at that point. And then you can focus on either trading your prospects for an outfield bat, hope that Hassel, Woods, Mears, and some other guys really pull through, or you can trade for another bat and use those guys. I mean, trading a staple in your lineup doesn't really do you anything right now, especially if you're not getting an MLB ready bat right now or any bullpen help. But even then, Cronenworth is worth more than that. So what are you going to trade him for? Prospects? We need guys that can produce right now. And you're not going to get a guy that's going to produce right now just for Cronenworth.
Not to mention, a lot of people are making it seem like Cronenworth doesn't have a spot when Abrams is up. Baseball America has Jake Cronenworth projected as a 2025 first baseman. First baseman. There's a spot for him. There's a spot for everyone. You plug in good players wherever you can to see what they can do. When the time comes for CJ to play second, that time will come. But you just don't want to trade good players. You want to have a lineup full of them. I understand you might get a good return from Jake Cronenworth, and that's the only reason I could see why he might be traded. But I don't know. This is and keep in mind, I'm not normally a guy that's like super into hanging on to certain guys, but Jake Cronenworth, I feel like, is a guy you got to hold on to. His approach is still fantastic. He's still got a good approach at the plate. He's still got the same swing he had last year. It's just not off to a hot start yet.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is people are talking about. I see in the chat people are talking about how the production of them is going to be similar offensively. We have to remember that defensively, it's going to be polar opposites. Cano's he's not a good defender anymore. Cronenworth is a Gold Glove caliber defender. Also, with the Abrams stuff, guys are talking about Abrams playing second. I still think he's going to play in a corner outfield spot. They moved him there for a reason. That's where the hole is for this team. They do not have a corner. They don't have a corner outfielder of the future besides Wood and Hassel in the minors. But they're not going to come up. Definitely not this year. So I don't know. I think that Abrams is going to play in the outfield. I think he suits better to play in right field. I think it makes sense. You have his speed in the outfield. We talked about the Mookie Betts kind of comparison in terms of how he was a second baseman, how Cronenworth was there. I'm sorry, how like I don't know. So it's just I don't know. I want Abrams to be a corner outfielder. I want Cronenworth to be the second baseman. And I think that can happen. But I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I don't really want to see Cronenworth move. That's for sure. But it's not like it's impossible, like you said. Devin, can you guys talk about Nola real quick? Do you think we should get another catcher? So we were talking about this earlier, but Luis Campusano right now. We were talking about the Padres' developmental issues. They've really kept Austin Nola and Jorge Alfaro on the roster over Luis Campusano because they gave him like 20 at-bats on 2 occasions and he struggled. He's also might not be the best defensive catcher. That's also very fair to bring up because Nola's fantastic behind the plate. Calls great game. Doesn't throw guys out, but does everything else great defensively. So, I don't know. I mean, I think you have the catcher there. I think this year it's definitely going to be Nola and Alfaro. And I think next year, if Campy isn't traded, then they're going to have to try Campy. But I don't. It feels like they have no confidence in Luis Campusano. That's what I think by them rocking with Alfaro and Nola.
Yeah, personally, I don't like picking apart trades too much. I don't like going into them just because whatever, we rock with what we rock with. I hate this Nola trade so much. That Nola trade looks so bad. I think it's horrendous. I mean, Nola's popped out in the infield more times than than I can remember anyone doing. He is a good catcher. He just, like you said, he doesn't really throw anyone out. I mean, the Cubs made it look easy to steal on him, but I mean, he does call good games. He is good catching wise, like being an actual catcher. The pitchers do like throwing to him. The pitchers love throwing to him. That they've shown that time and time again. They love throwing to him. When Blake Snell's back, I would bet money that Nola will be his catcher each and every outing. So yeah, I mean, realistically, you're gonna keep seeing Austin Nola in the lineup, but I don't think our lineup is deep enough to warrant Austin Nola getting consistent at bats. Not only that, you're not. I feel like you got to be hitting 220 or 230 to be able to be a good catcher and still be in the lineup. That's not what he is. That's not what he's doing. He's not hitting the ball hard. He's not hitting for power. And so even if he is hitting 220, 230, it's not like you're getting doubles and home runs. You're getting singles. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't really like Austin Nola. I like his defensive abilities other than throwing guys out. I like his defensive abilities, but at the plate, he is arguably, with Trent Grisham, might be your biggest liability, which sucks because we all had high hopes for Austin Nola. I think all three of us did in terms of hitting for average. We knew he wasn't going to hit for power, but in terms of hitting for average, we did think he was going to do that, at least hit 240, 250. But so far, that's not what we're seeing. It's just a lot of weak contact for Austin Nola. Jorge Alfaro does hit the ball hard when he's able to actually hit it. He swung at a pitch. He swung and missed at a pitch that hit him yesterday. Quite possibly the worst at bat I've ever seen in my life, considering he got the same pitch over and over and over, and he swung at all of them. But he does provide you some power, and he is a good catcher. He does have somewhat of an arm. I don't prefer either of them, but I don't think we're going to trade for a catcher. I think Campusano would be the answer if he was a good actual catcher, but he's not, and he's a great hitter though.
Yeah, just going to go off of what you're talking about. Padres haven't developed any catchers within like the past 7 years.
Horrific luck.
Austin Hedges was like an MVP in AAA. He hit over 300. He was like an all-star defensive catcher. He was everything you wanted to be and more. Comes into the MLB. I think he was like 0 for 25 before he first got his first hit. Okay, then it was Mejia. You trade, was it Brad Hand and Adam Simber for the number one catching prospect in Francisco Mejia. Never gets consistent at bats, but he is now hitting over 300 with the Rays. He has over 800 OPS with the Rays. Luis Torrens, he's hitting 140, but he was never realistically going to be a starting catcher on the Padres. But even then, he's had some really solid years with the Mariners. They don't give any of our catching prospects consistent reps to actually be able to produce at the MLB level. It's like, okay, yeah, you need to work on your defense. We don't really have anywhere else to put you, so you're just not going to play. Because realistically, Mejia should have started over Hedges any day of the week, just because he's a way better hitter than him. And yes, his defense may take a step back compared to Hedges, but he can always learn, and you're not going to learn at the MLB level unless you get reps. And the same thing can go for Campusano. Campusano gets what, 15 at bats in like 10 games, and they're like, yeah, you know what? He's still not ready. You're going to get sent down to AAA. Give him consistent reps, let back-to-back games. I mean, the only way he's going to learn at the MLB level is if you give him reps. And you can say the same thing about Abrams. Like, Abrams realistically could have started every game in right field when Myers was hurt. He could have started every game that Trace Thompson or Azokar started. Hell, you could have put him in center field at this point because Grisham hasn't been hitting. I mean, we have 3 outfield spots that Abrams realistically could have filled in any role and got some major at-bats in instead of just sitting on the bench waiting for the next day to come. They don't give their rookies a chance. The only one that's gotten a full-on chance is Mackenzie Gore, and he's proven he deserves to be at the MLB level, and they're still, you know what, maybe we should send him down over Nick Martinez. That's not rewarding your players for being good. That's just, okay, we don't think you're ready, even though you are performing, but you just don't have a spot on the team. Give your guys the reps.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And so real quick with Nola before I move off of him. Nola and Grisham are the 2 guys for this team that I think, dude, if they could hit, they would be such important impact players. Like, if you could just flip those 2 guys, just let them hit. Let them hit at an average MLB level. Boom, this team is so much better. Because he's great. They're both great defensively. Like, I mean, Noel can't run the bases, but you also get the plus base running from Grisham. So, yeah, I agree with that. But, like, when it comes to Abrams, got to get him playing time. And we talk about how much Abrams is struggling. Not as bad as Grisham. Like, he's still not struggling as bad as Grisham, and Grisham's playing every single day. That's another thing. So you can make the case for that, Chase. I definitely think you can. But yeah, looking at the prospects, you actually forgot to mention one other guy that got consistent playing time, Fernando Tatis. Because they said, oh, we're going all in with you. We're going to play with you. They should have done that with C.J. Abrams at the beginning of the year this year. They should have just kept playing him, not necessarily at shortstop, but shortstop, second, and in the outfield. That's what I think. I mean, but hindsight's 20/20. Doesn't really matter. So looking forward, though, I see a few other trades that people brought up. I see people were talking about Campy being ready, trading for Salvador Perez, and Wilson Contreras. When it comes to Campy being ready, in AAA, he's hit like 320 with like a 900 OPS over like a good amount of at-bats over the last couple of years. I feel like with the bat, he's ready. Defensively, those are where the question marks are, and that's why he's ultimately not playing. But like, I don't even know. I don't know what you're gonna do. Like, you got to get him reps. Like you said, Chase. The only way he's gonna get better, I guess, is through that. And if not, then why you still have him as a catcher? Move his bat somewhere else. But I think that's kind of where he has value too. So hopefully he stays as a catcher and can develop defensively. But that is definitely a big frustration. And then the other guys to potentially trade for. Okay, you know the trade calculator thing where you go and you put in whatever players? I put in Wilson Contreras for Austin Nola, and Nola has double the value of him. I don't think that the Cubs would accept that offer, right? Like, they would say no, and that is a double trade on MLB. I don't know. Do you guys both think that they would say no?
I don't even think they'd pick up the. I mean, why would they even have to answer? They would just hang up the phone.
Dude, that's the problem with that thing. It's not accurate.
No, it's not very accurate. I mean, I like the idea of Wilson Contreras, but then you're just having too many catchers. You have a catcher down in the minors, and it's just weird. It's just a whole weird thing, you know. Like, catcher is such a bad position for the Padres. You had Austin Hedges. That didn't work out. You had Francisco Mejia, who was supposed to be this amazing hitter, right? Like, that was supposed to be a specialty. Nope. And then you trade for Austin Nola, who had a high average. He had a high average in 2019, I think he played also. Has a horrendous average right now. Trade for Jorge Alfaro, who's supposed to have a lot of power. And, I mean, granted, he did hit that nuke. I don't know how many home runs he has. So, I mean, And right now, Campusano is just a question mark because we don't know what the hell the Padres are doing with him, and we don't know how he's going to come up to the MLB and be an actual catcher, like be a catcher that pitchers like throwing to. We saw Blake Snell was very frustrated with Luis Campusano in his outing when he did catch him. So we don't want that again. It's very clear that some of them don't like throwing to him, and he needs to develop in that sense. So hopefully he does. But who knows what's going to happen with them? I think, I don't think the Padres are going to be too reliant on trades at the deadline. I think somebody said it. I forgot who. It was, I saw it on Twitter. It said, if there's one position you want to be deep in and, have no worries about and just be stacked at, it would be starting pitching. And that's what's going to take us throughout the seasons. The starting pitching is what's going to win us the ball games throughout the season. It was the Brewers' recipe for success last year. It's going to be our recipe for success this year. So see how it goes. Offense is down throughout the league, so I'm not too worried about our offense. Fernando coming back sure makes it look a lot deeper, and I think we're at least going to get one bat at the deadline. So let's just see how it goes. Go for it.
So, looking at that trade calculator, Matt, I think I know the reason why. Nola's only making 726,000. Contreras is making like 6.7 million. And Nola probably edges him out defensively. Contreras is light years ahead of Nola offensively. So I think that's the only reason they consider Nola to be a better value, is just because, well, he's cheap. And yeah, and everything you said is true, Isaac. I mean, the way that we need to be or have a lot of depth and have our strongest point is starting rotation. That's the only thing that's going to carry us. And I see some talk over here, like, why isn't Hassel up? Hassel needs more time. He's killing it in what is it, high A. Him and James Woods, like Haran is saying, they definitely need to be moved up to Double A. They've just been killing it in Single A. They need to be moved up. They need a challenge, because realistically, if the higher that Hassel gets this year, the more of a chance he gets on the MLB roster next year. That means he's replacing Myers. That means you look good for the future. You can't just continuously stop prospects, then their development, and be like, yeah, you're going to spend a whole year, even though you're making the competition look like they're minor league, not minor leaguers, but like high school pitchers. Like, they're killing it. And Webster Reeves, I probably prefer Nola just because all the pitchers prefer Nola. Nola sometimes has some really clutch at bats, which that's always nice to have. I think Nola's a bit better of a hitter than Rivas too. And yeah, we need to trade for an outfield bat, I think. That's all I got to say now.
Yeah. I think that's probably all I got, honestly. I don't know. Anything else you guys want to add on before we take off? I feel like went through a lot of the stuff. I feel like it's easy to be negative about this team when you're talking about the offense and like some of the holes in the lineup and stuff. But Isaac, you brought it up at the end there. We got to remember this team is so stacked at starting pitching. I did have one more thing. So we were talking about Mackenzie Gore a little bit, not thinning him down, having a 6-man rotation. Some people did bring up to me on Twitter that they think that Mackenzie Gore is on a 120 innings limit, and that what the Padres are planning on doing is sending him down for a little while, basically having him kind of rest for a little bit as Snell and Clever back with Nick Martinez, and then basically bringing him back in at some point where he can have a role either in the bullpen or have a starting role, and then come playoff time, or even move him into the bullpen. And then come playoff time, because you're only going to have 3 starters, he can kind of be used in like a Julio Urias type role. So something like that. So I don't mind that either, but I don't want it to be like, I think we got to keep Nick Martinez up here because he's making more money. I don't want that to be the thought process of making that decision. If it's an innings limit, okay, I can live with that. Let's get him back up when he's ready. But then we'll also see that corresponding move down the road. So that's kind of my final thing I'll bring up tonight. But I don't know. Anything else you guys want to add?
Yeah, you brought it up. You said it's easy to be negative about this team, but I'm only positive about it. This team is has 20 plus wins right now. They are one of the best teams in baseball, despite not having a 7 WAR player. I mean, I think it was like 6.7, but if he plays 162 or even 150, he's a 7 WAR player. Absolutely one of the most electric bats in any lineup in baseball. So I'm pretty positive about this team. I understand there's flaws. I understand the lineup isn't exactly what we want it to be. And there's a lot of guys barely batting over the Mendoza line, but it's still a good team. We're missing pieces. We are going to trade for somebody. I'm fully confident a trade is going to happen for sure. Not anytime soon, obviously, but come around the time of the trade deadline, we will have another outfielder. There's going to be a decent amount of outfield options, not as many, but I think it's going to be a good amount of options. And yeah, I think realistically, what did we expect? We expected before the season started, we said they're going to have to hover around 500 before Tatis comes back, and they're going to have to rely on the pitching. Right now, they're exceeding those expectations of the wins, and their starting pitching has been their rock. So it's pretty much what we expected realistically, maybe even a little more.
So there's actually, because someone mentioned, Iran mentioned Morejon. Him and there's one other guy that's almost ready to come back up that would really bolster the bullpen and maybe make it so that we may not have to trade for someone at the deadline, and that's Jose Castillo. I know he's been pitching in single A. His stats look pretty good. And Baez, but I don't like mentioning him because then it sends Isaac into a frenzy. But yeah, Jose Castillo, great lefty arm. I mean, he placed him, he'll instantly be a high leverage guy. Has the velocity to do it, has the slider to do it. He probably will just make his way up to AAA after maybe a couple more appearances in Single A, and then he'll be ready. I honestly don't know what they're going to do with Morejon. That's kind of what I'm interested in seeing. It was first appearance yesterday. Are they going to stretch him out to be a starter again? Are they just going to limit him and be a bullpen piece? It's going to be really interesting to see what they do with him. I'm really hoping it's a bullpen piece because we can't see this, continuously. Like, okay, this guy just came back from Tommy John. We're going to stretch him out again. It's going to be like Lamet all over again, basically, if they continuously don't learn from their mistakes. And I don't want Morejon to be the next Lamet.
Yep, I completely agree with that. I saw that some people are like, dude, like he could be a starter. That could be so valuable. Oh man, we need a guy in the pen. We need Morejon to come in and be that nasty reliever and a nasty setup man. That's what I want to see. That's what I really want to see. So I completely agree there. And also, yeah, I don't want him to get hurt again. That's the other factor that's probably even more important. I think that's probably going to do it, though. Apparently, C.J. Abrams has 3 RBIs and a home run tonight after a 2-run home run last night. So maybe he'll be back soon, huh? Maybe he's just going to be like, hey, like, you guys can't keep me here. Give me real at-bats. Take Jerks and Profar out of the lineup in a month and put me in left field every single day. Hopefully that's the case. That's what you want to see, right? That's what you want to see your young guys do. Get sent down and then hit 400 and demand that they come back up to the MLB. That is what I would like to see. But, Jaron, I see that you brought up my blinds. When I go back to San Diego to that house, I promise you I'll record in the same room with the messed up blinds. All right, guys, I think that's going to do it for tonight. But thank you guys for all listening, and we'll have a couple episodes out these next couple days. And then Sunday, we will go live to recap the Brave series. So we'll talk to you then.